Hello everyone and welcome back to the F2 show by Inside F2. Formula 2 returned after a bit of a false start in Melbourne for a full weekend of action, and it was some unbelievable action, wasn't it? Joining me to reflect on Formula 2, the round 2 of the Formula 2 season, we've got a triple threat for this evening. We've got Formula 2 journalists Aaron Harper and Martin Lloyd, and we've also been joined by Formula 2 and Formula 3 commentator Chris McCarthy. Chris, let's come to you first. First of all, thank you for joining us, my friend, as always. How are you, and how have you found the first 2 rounds of the Formula 2 season as lead commentator?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's been a crazy first 2 rounds. I think we've had everything we could have dealt with in the first 2 rounds. All types of conditions, 200 races to celebrate. One of the most crazy races I think Formula 2's had in recent years. A cancelled race, which we haven't had in years. And lots of fun chat during that with Alex Brundle as well. I think we've had everything we could have been dealt with, which we can take forward this season. It's been so much fun already. The last weekend in particular was one that I'll remember for a long time, just because of the racing it delivered was one that we can look back on for a while. And it's delivered great storylines now to work with for the rest of the season. And the main one being that there are no clear favourites in this championship.
Yeah, some unbelievable action up and down the grid, wasn't there? And you're right. The championship is wide open. We're going to get into that very shortly, and looking forward to hearing your insight as well, Chris. So, great to have you with us. Aaron, Martin, I know you've both been on the press conferences this weekend. Ready to give us some insight of a brilliant weekend of Formula 2, Aaron?
Yeah, I hope to deliver on that. I mean, it was very interesting listening to the drivers from each of the races. They had some very interesting things to say from the questions that we did get to ask them. So, hopefully be able to share some of that with you guys this evening.
Martin, looking forward to getting stuck into it and talking all things Formula 2.
Yeah, really, really excited for this one, because I think in Melbourne we were really excited for the season opener. We all had our alarms set, and largely because we lost a race, it wasn't quite as exciting as we hoped it was going to be. In Bahrain, I think, made up for that and more. So, really excited for this one.
Good, and you two have got off the hook this time. You haven't been rinsed in your in the intro, so we'll say
I was thinking about that. I got lucky.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was a bit boring, wasn't it? Yeah, I'll line something up for Jeddah, don't you worry. Lots to get into then, so let's get stuck into it. I'm going to put a disclaimer out from the very top that there's so much that went on this weekend that we're just simply not going to be able to cover it in a 30-minute podcast. But we're going to be talking about the chaotic sprint race and the race in action that we had in that. We're also going to be discussing the winners and the losers from this weekend, and we're going to be discussing your predictions at the start of the season. First new winner. How many people got it right? Let's wait and see. But before we do all of that, Inside F2 have recently hit 250,000 subscribers. You know how it works. The bigger we get, the more guests we can have on and the more insight we can give to you guys. So thank you for all of your support. Welcome to the Inside F2 community. If you're new, you can continue to support us by leaving your thoughts in the comments below. But just a thank you for everyone's support. 250,000 subscribers. We never ever thought we were going to get that when we started this podcast. So thank you, and hope you're enjoying the content. Okay, shall we start with Alex Dunne and Rodin? They're our first feature race winners of the year. He becomes the first Irish driver to win in Formula 2 history, and the 25th nationality to win in a Formula 2 race as well, which is interesting. He got the lead, Chris, and he just never really looked back, did he, after he passed Leo Fornaroli early doors?
Yeah, it was a very, very good drive from him. Very mature drive as well from someone so young into his Formula 2 career, especially after what happened in the sprint race as well, which ended with a big shunt on the last lap. It really looked like you kind of got nervous for him starting from where he was on the second row and how he was going to deal with that. He's a McLaren junior. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders this year. He didn't have a good Formula 3 season last year, so his graduation to Formula 2 came as a surprise to some people, and he did have a lot to deliver. The Formula 2 feature race at Bahrain was quite a strange one. We had a real split strategy in tyres, and then there never really seemed to be a clear strategy where loads of drivers went deep into loads of drivers went kind of short into the race, and there was some tail enders. It was quite an open race, but Alex Dunne saw the threat from Luke Browning and just responded to it so well, where the other drivers following the similar strategy to him couldn't. And that pace was key for him late in the race to ultimately go and win. So, very impressive for a driver that hasn't really got the feature race experience before. And it was something that I think Zach Brown would have been very impressed with, and he got rode in another feature race win as well. It was kind of similar to what we saw Zay Maloney do last year as well. So, it was very, very impressed with him, but most impressed by how he bounced back from the sprint race, actually, because there would have been a lot of question marks from the paddock and also viewers as to how he would have came back from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Aaron, I know you spoke to him in the press conference. What was the difference between Saturday and Sunday? Because obviously Saturday, I know it was a chaotic race on Saturday, but there did seem to be a few mistakes, a few dive bombs, if you like, on Saturday. But Sunday was a completely different story, wasn't it?
Well, I actually termed it a Dunne bomb, an Alex Dunne bomb on Saturday. So, he said that he just sort of went away, looked himself in the mirror and said, just calm down a little bit, and said he tried to do too much all at once in the sprint race because he saw the opportunity. And I suppose it's understandable for a young driver, fresh into Formula 2, wants to make his mark. As Chris mentioned, Formula 3 didn't go quite to plan last season with the results. So he wants to sort of put down that marker and say, I am as good as people say I was. I still am getting better. And here's what I can deliver. The pace was there in the sprint race. It was just a shame the way it sort of unraveled for him in the end. But he came back on Sunday and delivered an unbelievable performance. To win by the margin that he did, was it over 8 seconds in Formula 2? That's seriously impressive. I mean, like anything above 5 or 6 seconds is like winning by 20, 25 in Formula 1. That's how rare it is to see that big a winning margin. So it was a mighty impressive performance, not only because of the winning margin, but because of the style in which he did it. Launched off the line, took the lead, and never looked back. He only dropped the lead because of the pit stop sequence. And once he was there, he even had the audacity to basically tell the world what he was going to do when Luke Browning got into second place and say, catch me if you can. And he couldn't. So a brilliant performance. And what a way to bounce back. That's super impressive. And I suppose that would suggest that if he has a bad day, let's say he was put into the McLaren Formula 1 team, let's say Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri couldn't drive for whatever reason, and Alex Dunne, like Ollie Behrman in Saudi Arabia last year, was put into the Formula 1 seat, he could sort of shake off a difficult day and come back the next day with his head screwed on and deliver. So that would stand him in really good stead. It's a mighty impressive performance.
Yeah, it was dominant, wasn't it? It was dominant. I'm not going to use any puns about getting the job done. I've seen so many of them this weekend, so I'm not going to, Martin. But what I do want to touch on is I want to, this is his first Formula 2 feature race, because obviously we didn't have the feature race in Melbourne. For a rookie to come in, first feature race, and to win the feature race, with tyre management, particularly around Bahrain, we know how difficult that is. Yeah, it was a really impressive performance. I'd actually go as far as saying, one of the best rookie performances or debut feature races I've seen in years in Formula 2. Is that fair to say, Martin?
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because I think there were a lot of different elements that put Dunne's win together. It wasn't like he got lucky because he was running around solidly in third place and the two leaders crashed out. He really worked hard for this. He, like you said, Aaron, he instinctively got up to second when Victor Martin struggled to get off the line. He passed Fornaroli pretty easily on lap 7, got out of DRS range very quickly. He negotiated his first pit stop, which I think maybe goes under the radar, but it's your first race. There's a lot of pressure on you. It's easy to get wrong. You can lose the engine easily. There's so many different bits that have to fall into place for those sorts of things to go right, especially on your first time around. And then to come out of the pits to just about clear Victor Martins, which Fornaroli and Marti hadn't been able to do. And then to start talking about Browning and his pace on the radio, we were thinking 5.5 second gap. Browning's on the softer tyre. Is there going to be a grandstand finish? And Alex rode off into the sunset. And I thought it was an incredibly impressive and actually a mature performance, especially like you say, in comparison to Saturday's. I think it was really impressive.
Rode off into the sunset, Martin. Very good. I'll give you that. Very good.
I was hoping someone would notice.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. I'm distracted now. No, Chris, I was just going to say that. So he's also the second highest average qualifier so far this year. I know it's only 2 races, so it doesn't mean very much, but he is the second highest average qualifier this year behind Victor Martins. That's going to stand him in good stead, isn't it? And you alluded to it earlier, in that he didn't necessarily stand out in Formula 3 last year, but he's come into Formula 2 and had a big impact from, it's not just this round. He was quick in Melbourne as well to qualify well, as we've just alluded to. What, has that surprised you how good he has been, and why has he maybe struggled in Formula 3 and then made a massive impact in Formula 2?
He started to find his feet in Formula 3. I mean, he qualified on the front row twice right at the end of the season, and he always did have the pace. You were kind of always watching him going, this kid can win, he can get a podium. It just sometimes it was unfortunate, sometimes he was in the wrong place at the right time, sometimes it was he just didn't get a top 12 finish, but the audience were always very much behind him that he could do well. And he's always in the junior categories and very quick. I mean, he was very good in F4, winning championships. They're beating some really good competition. And when he did arrive to F3, everyone thought he was maybe going to be on the championship podium. So I think this win's been a long time coming for him, to be honest. And, I've been fortunate to follow his career from karting. It was great to see he had that moment with his dad, who was his mechanic when he was in, at FIA level. And, he even had to check the Irish flag was there behind him, which was a lovely moment. And he's been becoming a bit of a superstar over there in Irish motorsport. So, I think this win, though, back to what you're saying, is it has been a long time coming for him, just because of the pace he's always had, and now he's got it. I hope he can build on it and build a kind of title fight with it, and really work forward, because I think all the audience have been able to see this for quite a long time, and us as kind of viewers watching it have been able to see this one coming.
Absolutely. As we do, a bit of a tradition on the podcast, as we usually do for a first new winner, Alex Dunne fans from Ireland, put the Irish flags in the comments. Let's see the Ireland flags in the comments below, and your support for Alex Dunne, and your thoughts on how well we did this weekend, because I think a bit of a star has been born this weekend in Formula 2. Let's move on then. So in our Discord channel, we asked for some predictions right at the start of the season. One of those predictions was first new winner. We've had our first new winner. Obviously, that was Alex Dunne. I want to just remind people of the predictions that we had. So Omi said Arvid Lindblad, Luke said Luke Browning, Jenny said Arvid Lindblad, Nessie said Arvid Lindblad, Ash Arvid Lindblad, Jenny said Luke Browning, Jesse said Gabriele Mini, Zoe said Dino Beganovic, who had a good weekend, by the way. We'll come on to him shortly. Ellie May said Luke Browning. Emily, a lot of Arvid Lindblad and Luke Browning. I also asked Aaron and Martin for their first new winners. Guys, do you remember your predictions? Aaron said,
I think I went Arvid Lindblad, yeah.
You did indeed, yeah. And Martin went for Gabriele Mini. Not a single person got it right. What is this? We have no wheel knowledge in our Inside F2 Discord channel, apparently. So
hang on. Aaron. Formula 2 is the most unpredictable series you will watch in motorsport.
I'm not having it. No wheel knowledge. Urgent appeal. If you have wheel knowledge, please come and join our Discord channel. Everyone in there is currently useless. You might even get a place on the podcast, to be honest, because Aaron and Martin are being sacked after this. Chris, you can stay, mate. You can stay.
I would have said Arvid Lindblad as well.
I'm joking. You are right, Aaron. It is incredibly difficult to predict. But the fact that no one got it right, it just shows how unpredictable Formula 2 is, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's just wide open, and it's great. Yeah. That's why we love it.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Gabriele Mini where he was in qualifying, I was talking to Piers and we looked at the grid, sort of 12th, 14th, 16th. We were like, how's like Jack Crawford down there? Gabriele Mini's down there. Kush Miney was down there. We were like, you could flip this grid upside down and you wouldn't be surprised with it. So yeah, that's the beauty of this championship this season.
Chris, I want to touch on. I was going to touch on this a little bit later, but I'll touch on it now. Dams have had a really difficult start to the season, haven't they? One of only 2 teams not to score a point yet. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's a strange one. Yeah, I mean, Jack Crawford again having problems in the pit lane at Bahrain. It was like going back a year. It just hasn't really got going this season at all. Kushmani, we thought would show the pace that he did last year at Bahrain. Albeit in different colours. Hasn't got going. I mean, this was a real reset for everyone after a cancelled feature race. It was basically like the championship started again. But for some reason, and after testing, you would expect those teams to come forward. But yeah, is the Jack Crawford not even really challenging for sort of podium places has been a real surprise for me. And Kushmani as well. This is a big opportunity for him as an Alpine Academy driver. We say Jack as well, an Aston Martin development driver. He's got a big opportunity if he can go and get a big season. And I think we talked about this before. If he could go and even win the championship, he puts himself in a really hot, he raises his stake as a driver massively there. And Felipe Drugovich is left quite vulnerable in his position as well. So, I'm not too sure what's happened with them. Their F3 team actually looks a lot stronger than their Formula 2 team, even though they're in their first season. So, I think they'll be looking to fix that either post-Jeddah or trying to get a good result this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, tough weekend for Dams. The team who didn't have a tough weekend were Invicta. They're looking strong, aren't they? Pole position for Leonardo Fornaroli, who leads the championship after 2 rounds. Impressive performance, Martin. Though, again, for another rookie who just doesn't seem fazed by the fact that it was his first feature race in Formula 2.
Yeah, I don't have an Invicta pun. It doesn't quite work. But I thought Leo was really impressive this weekend. Again, it's his first feature race, and I'll say it again, it's not easy to go into that with the confidence levels that he had. Starting on pole position, okay, he didn't convert that, but he's looked really, really quick all weekend. He had a 10th and a half over Victor Martins, who was looking really strong throughout qualifying. And then in the race, he admitted in the press conference, look, I didn't have the speed that Alex had. But what he did was what he did throughout the whole of his title-winning Formula 3 season last year, which was maximise the potential of the pace that he had. He came over the line third, which he did plenty of times in his Formula 3 career. And I'm not saying yet maybe he could do a championship run, but I think this is exactly the way to start it. If you've not got the pace that Alex or Luke Browning had, finish third, solidly, defend really, really aggressively, but I think it was just about okay in terms of defence on Pepe Marti on the final lap and pick up that podium spot. I thought he was really impressive this weekend.
Clearly, Gabriel Bortoleto has left the handbook on how to consistency your way to an F2 title.
Yes. Exactly.
Well and truly in that
and how to consistency your way to an F3 title as well.
Also that, he didn't win a race last season, did he?
No.
Correct.
No.
Well, he has, and he never won one in Freca either, and but he always finished. He finished 38 out of 40 races, which was just incredible.
That's just remarkable, isn't it?
It's something that in the press conferences this weekend I was really struck by. And seeing him around the paddock as well before, he seems to have a really calm head on his shoulders. His English isn't perfect. It's not going to be. He's 19. It's not his first language, but he was giving really thoughtful answers, really explaining his thinking throughout the race as best as he could. And I thought he was, like I say, a really calm, assured presence on the track, and he looks like he belongs in Formula 2 already. And I think in Invicta, he's got a team that won the championship last year, clearly knows how to set up this Formula 2 2024 car. And I'm really excited to see how he and that team can do for the rest of the season.
Interesting point you make about the way he speaks in English. I think that speaks to his driving, and obviously what you said about being a very calm driver. He didn't try to overcomplicate his answers, didn't try to go into too much detail. He just said what he needed to say, and on the track he just does what he needs to do. So if the car is capable of pole position, he'll put it as close to the front as he can, if not on pole position, and in the race he'll get the best result he can. So he knew he didn't have the pace to run with Alex Dunne, and Luke Browning came through on the alternate strategy. So P3 was the best on offer. Take it. That's 15 points in your pocket, 2 for the pole position, leading the championship. Thanks very much. See you in Jeddah.
Yeah, maybe seeing a bit of a glimpse as to how Leonardo Fornaroli is approaching this Formula 2 season, similar to how he did in Formula 3 and in Frecker, obviously. Aaron, I messaged you during the feature race on Sunday, didn't I? And I said about the alternative strategy. You know, the hard to soft strategy seemed to work well this year. Obviously, Luke Browning was at the head of that field, if you like. And that was the opposite to last year, where Zane Maloney went, you know, the soft to hard strategy seemed to be working, well, much better strategy. Were you surprised to see that the soft tyres seem to be much better? You seem to be able to go for a lot longer on the soft tyres this year.
It seemed to go against the grain of thought, didn't it? That the soft tyre would go as long as it did and perform as well. It was just, it's one of the weird quirks, I suppose, of this circuit. The roughness of it, the way it wears down the tyres, but also the construction of the tyres not responding to getting too hot or not warming up enough in some cases. I'm no tyre expert, so we'd probably have to speak to Pirelli about this. But it was very strange the way different teams were able to make different tyres work in their favour or not in their favour. And the fact that we saw the top two actually work their way to those positions on different strategies, I think suggested there was no one perfect way to win that race. It was about being the fastest car. It wasn't about just having a good strategy. You had to have the inherent speed in the car to go and do the lap times. And the top three, by and large, did have that. So, yeah, it was just another interesting element to the race, wasn't it? And obviously, in the sprint race, we saw drivers trying to manage the soft tyre, trying not to cook it too much. And those who kept some tyre in hand for the final safety car restart reaped the rewards amidst all the chaos.
Absolutely. Something that was cooking, though, was the sprint race. Should we talk about that? What an unbelievable end to that race that was. Chris, how on earth did you keep up with that? Because, the top 12 were separated by less than a second from each other going into the last lap of the race. It's unbelievable how close it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when Max Esterson stopped, I didn't message him about it, but I almost felt like doing it. But when that stopped, me and Piers looked at each other and we're like, this is going to get very interesting right now. And we almost knew, we were like, the pit lane's going to get busy. And this is basically just going to kick off. And I didn't expect that many drivers to stop. I think about 8 of them stopped. Yeah. And big names as well. I mean, Mini came in and he was pretty much in the points. And at that point, we knew we were in for a shootout. But I did not expect them to go 3 wide round, turn 12 and nearly crash into each other. And to them to be basically swinging for each other, I did not expect that. And it looked like a safety car restart right at the end. And that was so much fun. So much fun, I have to say. Pepe Marti, though, we had it down. I mean, I thought, he 11th last year and he got a podium. He might do it, but didn't expect it on like lap 10. But I mean, how on earth he did it, I don't know. I think he said it in a bathtub earlier that day. He was like, I started 11th last year and got a podium, so I might do it again this year. And then he went and won the race. So it was crazy. So yeah, for the storyline, you almost wanted him to do it, and then he did it, which was crazy. So yeah, it was so much fun. But yeah, Max Esterson, you kind of took one for the team. So thank you. That's all I could say.
Thank you, Max Esterson, for providing one of the best Formula 2 races or end to a Formula 2 race of all time. Martin, impressive by Pepe Marti. No, he controlled. His pace management seemed to be good throughout the sprint race. Looked after his tyres and then went for it at the end. And the final few laps were brilliant from him, weren't they? He was down in 4th, I think, with 2 laps to go, and then manages to win the race. And he's the Bahrain specialist, isn't he?
It was superb and also crazy because he qualifies 11th, and I was thinking about the same stat that Chris was thinking about when I was watching this. But you look at him and you think, okay, he's got to 5th or 6th in the first few laps. Okay, he's got that far, but Bogdanovic and Dirksen both look really quick. And then you had 70% through the race. You had Max Esterson's stoppage, and you're thinking, like Chris was thinking, this is going to be a grandstand finish. But you don't think that there's going to be no accidents per se in the top guys that finished on the podium. But Pepe's going to win the race. It was actually, sublime racecraft. And when some of the racecraft that we saw over the weekend wasn't fantastic, what we saw from Pepe was up the inside at turn 8 on 2 drivers. It was kind of reminded me of the famous through goes Hamilton moment at Club Corner. It's just superb driving, and then to be able to take to take Josh Dirksen as well was fantastic. And I think Pepe really deserved that. He almost got the double podium in the feature race as well. Yeah. And that's how you start your first proper weekend of your second Formula 2 season, when he needs to finish in the top 5 to impress Red Bull.
Yeah, great weekend for Pepe Marti. And Aaron, it was, what was Pepe Marti's pleasure, if you like, was Josh Dirksen and Dino Beganovic and Richard Verschoor's pain, because, Josh Dirksen obviously leading going into the final lap. I actually thought Dino Beganovic was going to win it with 2 laps to go. It was, just all over the place, wasn't it?
It was crazy. It was... Chris, you said it absolutely right. They were all just going for each other. And from a purist point of view, that's the racing that we want to see. You just want to see, it's like 2 boxers who give it the big talk beforehand about how they're going to go for each other, and then they get in the ring and they're not really hitting each other for ages. You want to see them go at it. Go on, who's the best? Who's got the edge? And in that sort of 5 or 6 laps that we got at the end, we saw who had the package to go and deliver the result. And that 3 wide moment through turn 12 was absolutely incredible. Yeah. And that they all sort of had a little moment afterwards. I don't know if there was any contact, but I was certain that there was going to be a huge accident. Yeah. How all 3 of them scooped it up and lived to tell the tale in terms of carrying on to the finish. I was just like, that is incredible. That is where you see just how talented all of these drivers are. I mean, it's just the car control, the skill involved to do that. I can't even compute the reflexes involved in that. Yeah. It's
the crazy
ridiculous.
The crazy thing, that was for, I can't remember exactly, 12th, 13th, 14th, somewhere around there. This is not a fight for the lead. This is not a fight for 5th, 6th. It was just superb to see.
Never in my life did I think I'd seen a double overtake round the outside of turn 12. That is outrageous.
I didn't think I'd see a single one.
Exactly. A single overtake around the outside of turn 12 is it's outrageous. Nolly Gurfa went on to finish P5 from all the way back there just a few laps before. I mean, he made up 4 places on the final lap. He started the final lap in P8 and ended the race in P5. Obviously, we didn't see those moves. And by the way, I do not blame the TV director at all, because where on earth are you meant to have the screen? Where on earth are you meant to be looking?
We need to start a campaign for multi-screen. We've got on our recording at the moment, we can see 4 boxes of each of us. So we need that. Try commentating on that, Chris. I mean, good luck.
I was going to say, at the end, the director came down. I've never heard someone take like the deepest breath. Like, he just let it all out. Like, that was fun. I've never been more excited for a cool down room than that. When they went in, I was like, this is going to be so much fun. When they actually see and I was just waiting for them to see the 3 wide moment, because they showed the onboard. I was like, now they're going to see what really happened. It was like alternative.
We didn't actually see that. We didn't see the cool down room.
Chris, what did they say? Because Sky Sports, anyone that's watching Sky Sports in the UK didn't see that, because it cut to the F1, so we didn't see the cool down room. So what was said?
Basically they were just Alex Dunne didn't get a really kind words in there. That's all I'll say. Pepe Marti was not very nice. Well, Pepe Marti basically said that Alex Dunne was going for people, but it was basically like what the F1 cool down room was. Okay. It was alternative commentary. They were just like they commentated the race as we all saw it, and then Pepe Marti looked at everyone else, and I think the closing thoughts were, "This was a pretty good race," and that's how he left it. But
amazing. Sounds like they're coming for your job.
A lot of oohs and ahs. They were. It was absolutely brilliant. I'd say if you find a way to see, I'll see if I can send it to you guys. It was really great, really great.
Just as a commentator, and when you're observing that, I suppose it's the same as a fan. Is it refreshing to get almost those natural reactions, because they haven't had time to sort of decompress, and they're seeing it for the first time? It must be fascinating.
Yeah. Well, you know what's going to come at them, and you're like, yeah, this. Well, one, what are they thinking after that? Because you've got drivers that probably didn't even expect to get on the podium, and then two, what do they think of what's just happened? I mean, like we said, it's like they've been in the ring for 20 odd laps, so they've left some stuff out on the tracks. Now let's see what they have to say about it, and let's see and there's big things that happened that they don't even know about, that for like 10th place. So let's see what they have to say about this. And they were very honest. That's all I can say.
We're looking forward to episode 3 of the Cool Down Route podcast in Jeddah, definitely. And it sounds like you've got a couple of young drivers after your job later on in life, Chris. So,
absolutely.
I wanted to touch on a couple of things before we go. Luke Brown and Dino Beganovic getting an FP1 outing, Aaron. Both did very well. And Luke Brown in general had a really good weekend, actually. Good, solid FP1 with Williams. A P3 in qualifying, and obviously a P2 in the feature race. That's not a bad way. And Dino Beganovic obviously fighting for the win in the sprint race. It's good weekends for both of them, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Luke Browning, first of all, surviving a very, very near miss with Alex Albon when he was doing that FP1. Yeah. That was heart in mouth moment, wasn't it? It was how you can have your own 2 cars in that situation is that'll take a bit of debriefing at Williams. But I think with Luke, it shows, and I suppose the same with Dino, Ferrari and Williams have that pathway. They have sort of set out their stall. And I know Red Bull back in the day had this conveyor belt of talent. They were just always reeling them into Formula One and also out again as quick as they came in, and they still do to some effect. But they almost, at one point, they seem to have like half the junior grid. It was crazy. You don't have enough seats for them all. But other teams are a little bit more... They're a bit more sort of specific about the drivers that they choose. They don't have too many. They focus on the ones they have. You look at Ollie Behrman, who's moved through the junior ladder and is now at Haas, obviously a Ferrari partner. I don't see a pathway into F1 for Beganovic or for Browning. But you saw with Colapinto last year that when the opportunity came knocking, Williams put him in. And they gave him that opportunity and he thrived. And now look at him. Teams are fighting over his services, yet he's still sitting on the sidelines. How much longer that is, we don't know. So, Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, one of them's due a medical emergency at some point, given their history. Nice. So they're keeping Luke sharp. He's at the front. I'm going to go on record. He will be driving at the Hungarian Grand Prix this year because Albon's spleen or something has given up.
Yeah, right. They've both had their appendices gone, so it's not going to be the appendix. So you're going for the spleen, yeah? Okay, cool. All right. Just an absolute disclaimer on behalf of Inside F2 that we don't wish that to happen on any driver.
We don't, right? Of course.
We don't want headlines of Aaron Harper or Inside F2 wish illness on the Williams drivers. Speaking of Williams, Victor Martin's obviously joining the Williams Driver Academy in between Sakir and Melbourne and Sakir. Good move for both parties?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this goes back to Aaron's point just now about some academy programs are a little bit more specific about who they choose rather than Red Bull, who I remember watching F3 one year. They had a third of the grid, and that's not an exaggeration. But you look at Williams, and they're quite specific about who they choose. They've only got maximum a couple in each series, and I think it was at a point where you only pick someone else up if they're outstanding, because you look at how good Luke Browning is. But when someone like Victor Martins comes up on the market, it's not an opportunity that James Vowles can turn down. I think if you look at Williams and how their junior program has progressed in the last year, you look at Franco Colapinto, obviously a very, very good driver. He's now proved himself in Formula 1. In Formula 2, he was good, but he didn't necessarily set the world alight, which Victor Martins has done in flashes in a few races in his F2 career and being an F3 champion. So I think when you consider the amount of money that Williams have got and then the talent that they've got now with Martins, with the money from Colapinto, I would be quite happy if I was James Vowles to have Luke Browning there as well.
Yeah, Definitely, it's going to be interesting to see how that develops, particularly the rivalry, if you like, not rivalry, but Victor Martins v Luke Browning, who's going to finish on top there in terms of the Williams drivers. It's going to be fascinating to see that. Chris, we've got a few questions for you, if that's all right, just to end the podcast. The first one is from Sangu36 on our Inside F2 Discord channel, who asks, I know it's only after 2 rounds, but who are your title contenders for the rest of the season? At this point, early on in the season, who do you think are title contenders?
Great question. I mean, look, Leo is showing the type of consistency that we saw from him in Formula 3, so I'd have to put Fornaroli up there, 100%. One of the high techs is going to be in contention. It's just a case of which one. So Luke Browning's looking the better of the two so far. So I'd go with him. And I'll pick one more. I would have gone Arvid Lindblad, but Arvid Lindblad, I'm still going to go with. He looked to be building into it. And I think when we hit the European tracks, he will start to build more pace, and I do think Campos are starting to get quicker and quicker. So I will remain strong with that one from last year, and we've got to consider his age, and I do think he'll get better and better.
Definitely. Something we haven't touched on. Again, I said we weren't going to be able to cover everything at the top. Arvid Lindblad became Formula 2's youngest ever point scorer this weekend. So shout out to Arvid Lindblad. Second question is from James. Is Alex Dunne a title contender?
I think we have to consider him one. But it really, I think the next sort of 2 rounds, next 2 to 3 rounds, going to be crucial. This could just be something that a win that he does really well, and then maybe like we saw, Zane Maloney is in the running and starts to struggle as we get into it. But if he can build on this now, go and have a good performance at Jeddah, then I think he needs to be taken seriously. So I'm sure you're looking for a yes or no. Too early to say for that one. I wouldn't have considered him a title contender this year. I would have gone more for next year. But I think that will be something we can really answer if he's going to have a good Jeddah and a good start to the European season. So yeah.
Definitely. And final question for you. Becca says, was that Villagomez's best weekend in Formula 2?
Best weekend in Formula 3 and Formula 2 for me. It seemed we had testing there, but he's had testing at Formula 3 tracks and Formula 2 tracks for. He seems to just driven with so much more confidence. I think he was unlucky in the feature race, and it was really good to see. I mean, for Mexico as well, I think that may have even been first points for them. So really nice for him to be in the points, and he is driving with great confidence, beating John Bennett as well, who many would have expected it to be the other way. So I hope he can now go and get even more points this weekend and just start to grow into it, because he's a really nice character. He's been in Formula 3 and Formula 2 for a while, and it's about time he had a bit of a break.
Definitely in the podium places on both Saturday and Sunday at points during the race, so both races. So good for Rafael Villagomez. I'm going to bring up one more point, and I know producer James is going to be fuming right now because we've gone way over half an hour. But the drone shots in Bahrain, I thought were brilliant. I want to see more of that, guys. I don't know what you guys thought, but I thought the aerial drone shots were brilliant.
They were fantastic. I mean, I know they did a couple of drone shots Spain a couple of years ago, and then Budapest last season, and they were trying to follow the cars, and I didn't like it. Number one, because you couldn't see what was happening, and number two, it looked terrible. So it was just not very good. This time it was so much more informative in terms of what you could see. That high overhead shot, a little bit like in a computer game where you just have that different angle. You could just see some of the movements of the cars and the distances. It was a completely different shot that we've not seen before. And I suppose, Chris, from your perspective as a commentator, how much more diversity does that give you to sort of talk about what's going on and bring to life? Maybe that's not a role for you, but maybe your co-commentator, perhaps.
Oh, so much more, because you can see when someone runs wide into a corner in particular, you can just see exactly the mistake they've made under braking, and then the effect. I think we saw it with Nicola Lacorte actually in F3. He tried to make a move, ran wide, and then on you saw the exact movement of the car on the exit, and then he lost about 2 places. So it was, and I think F3 posted that exact clip on Instagram, not to call him out or anything, but yeah, it was just a perfect shot of how you saw the opportunity open and the effect of what happens when it doesn't go quite right. So yeah, it's perfect. Well, one, it looks great. It kind of sets the scene of where Bahrain is and the surroundings. Doesn't give the elevation, so to speak, on some of them, but you can see the events of four moves happening all at the same time, and in a battle like we had in F2, that's absolutely perfect. So.
Looking forward to seeing more of those shots over the course of the season. Let's take a look at the championship standings before we go then. Leonardo Fornaroli leads the Formula 2 Championship for the first time in his career after a P3 finish in the feature race. That keeps him 1 point ahead of the 2 drivers he shared the podium with on Sunday, Alex Dunne and Luke Browning. Sprint race winner Pepe Marti moves up to P4 in the standings ahead of Richard Verschoor. And the team standings? High-Tech lead the way, having been the top point scorers for a team this weekend. Campos, Invicta and MP are all breathing down the neck of the British-based outfit with 10 points separating first and fourth. Dams and Trident, who are the only 2 teams yet to get off the mark. Okay, that's all we got time for today. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure you give it a like, subscribe for more Formula 2 content. Go and check us out on social media as well at Inside F2 and leave your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your thoughts and opinions. But from me, Fraser Ford, and all of us here at Inside F2, we'll see you next time.